Saturday Social is powered by EA Sports FIFA 23 with PlayStation.
Right, we're going to move on. We're going to start by talking all things Chelsea. There's a lot to talk about with the football club. Rory's groaned already, like he didn't know what was coming. Now lost 5 games in all competitions, Roy. We can see just where you sit in the table at the minute. So this is the bottom half of the table that we're showing. And as you can see, Chelsea 11th in the table currently, 10 points above the relegation zone.
You're safe,
obviously,
mate, at least.
We've spoken about the previous results. We can actually have a look at their next fixtures, because I think what a lot of Chelsea fans have pointed out is how tough their remaining fixtures are. If you actually look at the 6 games they've got left to play, which we can see through the magic of audio and television now, there it is, they've got all of the current top 4 as well as 2 teams that are fighting relegation. So Rory's face, I think we're going to reveal it in a minute. There it is. Was a picture looking at that. Rory, how concerned are you? And what do you put... What's going on? Because I'm looking at it from the outside. There's a lot of quality in that Chelsea squad. So what is going on? What do you put these results down to?
I think the club is completely destabilised, isn't it? I mean, when you look at that table, it's such a worry. We're 3 points above Bournemouth. Like, we're playing Bournemouth soon. Like, it's sort of becoming a 6-pointer. We're playing Bournemouth and we've got a 6-pointer. So I'm really concerned.
Is that the way you see it, genuinely? You see that as...
Like, you know when people talk about Chelsea being relegated? What am I doing? How is this happening? How am I talking about Chelsea being relegated? Like, I don't think it's a possibility. Chelsea have already managed to accrue 39 points, and I think 39 points will see us safe.
That's amazing.
But, to be totally frank with you, boys, I genuinely don't see where another point is coming from this season.
Do you not?
Not really. When you look at the fixtures, like, maybe on some level I'm being really optimistic. Maybe the effect of what happened to Arsenal in the title race at the Etihad, maybe that will have an impact and Chelsea could pull a result out of the bag there. Maybe Bournemouth will feel that they're already safe. But listen to how I'm talking. Like, this is a new low for me. This is genuinely a new low for Chelsea.
Flav's buzzing.
This hasn't been. Look how happy he is.
What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm just thinking, right, because it's obviously no one's gone down with 39, right?
I don't think so. Well, I think teams have gone down with 39
West
before.
Ham went down with more.
Yeah, with over 40.
That's right. So you can go down, right? Yeah. But even if you don't go down, what is the fallout and damage of finishing 18th? After spending £600 million?
No, look, we're not going to be relegated, and therefore I think that we can build and we can be fairly optimistic about the new season. I think that we just have to get through this run of games now. We just desperately need the referee to blow the full-time whistle on the last day of the season and then confine this season to the ash heap of history.
Do you know what's going to hurt Rory even more than that? Is that when Chelsea lose, I feel nothing. It doesn't even have an impact on me anymore. It's like, oh, Chelsea...
That's such a lot. That's not true. He texts me every single time. That's not true. Don't come on here and present yourself as being some sort of I rise above it now. Chelsea's so bad. You text me every time Chelsea get beat.
I've risen above Chelsea's demise. This is what...
But do you text him?
No, of course I don't text him.
He doesn't text him, but technically WhatsApps him.
Yeah, exactly. The chaos doesn't stop there, though, does it? Because you haven't got a permanent manager in yet. We did see the news this week, though, Flav. I'm not sure you'll be happy with this one, that Pochettino is potentially on the verge of taking over at the club. Here's Sky Sports News saying that it's edging closer and he could be formally announced as early as next week. Mauricio Pochettino potentially going to the bridge. Rory.
Yeah, this doesn't fill me with joy, to be honest. I think Mauricio Pochettino, whether you see him as being a top-tier manager, whether you see him as being elite, or whether you think he's just a good manager, I don't particularly want somebody who personifies Tottenham at Chelsea. He is the embodiment of Tottenham Hotspur, and I don't really like the idea.
He's a great coach.
He's great, sounds generous to me. He's a very good manager, I agree. He's good. I don't think he's in the elite rung. I think the fact that his 2 crown and glory moments in this league, his two best moments with an English club, was crying in the away dressing room at Stamford Bridge in 2016 and losing the most one-sided Champions League final I've ever seen.
It's harsh, though, isn't it? That's incredibly harsh, given what he was able to achieve with that young Tottenham squad with very little... I mean, Flav, you can tell us from a Tottenham...
Bearing in mind Spurs didn't spend much of that and getting Spurs to Champions League final.
The word achieve, you're playing hard and fast with the word... The definition
of the word achievement. We went unbeaten at home.
Put that in a trophy cabinet. That would look great in the trophy cabinet.
But he didn't have the tools that he will have at Chelsea. And what I worry about is how good he will be, given the money to spend. All Chelsea really need is maybe another young centre-back and probably, definitely a striker. But if you give him that, I can't tell you how upsetting it is, the idea at Pochettino, not just because he's a Tottenham, he should be coming back to Tottenham and finishing his job, but for him to go to Chelsea is problematic for me in many ways.
This I like to hear. This is the one reason that I can kind of rationalise it in my mind. Mauricio Pochettino, their greatest ever manager since Bill Nicholson. Their greatest manager since Bill Nicholson didn't win a thing with them. I would thoroughly relish it if their greatest manager since Bill Nicholson could come to Chelsea.
Do you think that's a bit unfair, though, bearing in mind what he achieved at Tottenham from where they were when he took over to where they were when he... I mean, getting Tottenham to a Champions League final, no one in their wildest dreams would have expected that. The fact they didn't spend for 2 seasons, there was moving... We didn't have a home stadium for a period of time.
But this is
lots
why
of
I
injuries in that season as well. Do you not think that was an achievement in what he managed to do at Tottenham, despite the fact he didn't win a trophy?
Chelsea got to a Champions League final in 2008 with Avram Grant. That's something I never talk about. It doesn't matter. We got to a Champions League final. We didn't win it. It's irrelevant. Tottenham will celebrate that. We got to a final.
I don't think it's celebrating that. I think it's appreciating how well he did. We're not saying it's an achievement losing a final. I think to Flav's point, you're saying where he took Spurs from when he started at Tottenham to where he left the club. Do you not see that as massive progress?
I mean, where we left them was similar to where he took them over, actually. But I would also say that taking Tottenham to a Champions League final is good for Tottenham, but it's not good for Chelsea. Also, look at what happened at PSG. PSG, you know, they had all the money, all of the tools, and ultimately that Yilmaz took Lille to the league, didn't
Sorry, but the only point I'll make on the Pochettino thing is the last PSG coach that failed there and came to Chelsea was Thomas Tuchel. He couldn't do the job at PSG either. Didn't win the Champions League there.
Had them to a final, though, which apparently
you just said a minute ago
apparently we're celebrating that. Had them in a final. No,
you can't use it. No, it works.
But it suits me now. It didn't suit me then. It suits me now.
You just changed your own argument. Let's get Flav's point on that, because he was nodding in huge disagreement when you were making your point about Pochettino. You don't agree with any of this, what Rory's saying?
No, I don't. See, you're cutting off your nose to spite your face right now. He's an excellent coach. It'll be a terrible thing if he joins Chelsea. It looks like he is, not least because he's... was held in high regard. I mean,
he can't love Tottenham that much, can he?
What does it mean for his legacy? What does it mean for his legacy at Tottenham?
It damages it significantly.
He's magic.
No, of course not. How can you? He's a Chelsea manager. So my ideal, what I wanted, is for him to come back and finish what he started. Because the manner he left Tottenham, and you was criticising the state that he left Tottenham in, that wasn't his fault. There were so many mitigating circumstances to the point where we weren't playing good football by the time he left and he had to go. That issue won't exist at Chelsea. It doesn't exist at Tottenham now. So my idea was that he would come back to Tottenham, finish what he started, and we could all sing his name again. Now he's gone to Chelsea.
Can I ask you a question on it then? You know the way that at Tottenham he ultimately all went a bit rocky.
Yeah.
How do you think he'll navigate the way that Chelsea have run? How do you think he will deal with Todd Bowley in the dressing room, for example, the big stars at Chelsea?
The players, the manager, the chairman in the dressing room ain't that. It's not that. And it happens. Right? Sometimes the chairmen get involved. Alex Ferguson, Gary Neville was talking about this the other day. Alex Ferguson and the board would come down every single game, and go into the training room. So it's not that big a deal. The mess that he's picking up at Chelsea is comparable to the mess he picked up at Tottenham. And for you to think that you won't be able to fix this, I think is short-sighted. And actually, there's absolutely no reason why you should be talking like this.
It's looking like he's going to be appointed. As soon as he is appointed, I will pledge unilateral support to him.
Well, like you did to Rafa Benitez.
Mate, you can't be annoyed that we have principle and you don't. You welcome former Chelsea managers in. You love them. You get them all the time.
But you just said you was going to.
We have principle. We didn't like Benitez before he came to Chelsea. He then finished in the top 4 and won European silverware, and we didn't like him after. It's a principle. Mauricio Pochettino will always be Tottenham. No, it's principle. You should try it.
Stupid.
You should try it.
You've got to back your own manager, though. Like,
exactly.
Surely.
That's what I'm saying. Well, when Pochettino is in, obviously I hope it goes well. My question would be, is he the best manager available for Chelsea? And I would say Luis Enrique is a better option.
Okay. Well, it takes us quite nicely on, doesn't it?
I think he's a top manager. It'll be fascinating to see what does happen with. I agree, Luis Enrique, another top manager as well. It's interesting to see. It's interesting to see who goes where, isn't it? A lot of managers
shopping in the same market.
Yeah, it's interesting. But it did give us an idea about building. We're going to give Rory the reins of being the manager. So regardless of who it is, Rory's the gaffer today, and he's going to build his ultimate Chelsea 11. Yeah. Explain the rules.
I think you've got to think of this from a Pochettino perspective. We're really thinking here Pochettino's ideal 11. You know, what is it going to look like next season? We're going to give you free rein so you can pick players that are already in the squad, already in the club, and it's quite likely Chelsea are going to spend more money in the summer. If we're all honest, isn't it? There's no way they're not going to spend pennies this summer. So you can sign some players, but we also want to see a lot of names that are already at the club because you've got 200 of them.
Yes, I'm trying to do it as realistic as possible.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see how many of this Ultimate 11 are still players or new signings because of how many players you've already signed.
Yeah. So we're building Poch's 11 for next season to compete.
Yeah, I think the first thing that he will have to do is sign a new goalkeeper.
Not having Kepa.
No, nor Mendy. I think neither of them are particularly good. I know Chelsea spent a fortune on goalkeepers, but basically we've managed to make a real pig's ear of it. We've signed 2 goalkeepers for an awful lot of
You won't be
money.
able to get enough out of either of those.
I don't think so. I don't think the talent's there. I think neither are good enough. This won't be a Pochettino issue. This will just be the goalkeepers aren't good enough. I think Kepa Arrizabalaga is possibly good enough to be a number 2, but you can't be going into the season. He just isn't good enough. So
Mad, isn't it?
I'm thinking that we're going to.
What are your
sign-
thoughts on that, Flav?
Just it's crazy. Like, that was Mendy's, what was he, 50, 40, 50?
No, they
No,
were
he was
there.
cheap, Mendy. Mendy was cheap.
Was he?
spent-
Sorry.
And Kepa Arrizabalaga was 75 million. But
Kepa was the one that was-
It is crazy.
It was a panic buy, though.
Absolutely
He'd had
crazy.
one good season in Spain, and because of this Courtois situation, we panicked and we bought him. And it's ultimately proved.
So there's no
massive
saving him,
error.
you've got-
There's
you've
no
got
Who's
saving him, we
suggesting
need a
that
goalkeeper. I'm going for Onana.
Onana. Inter do need money, don't they? This
Inter
coming
need
summer.
money. I feel like he's obtainable. You know, if you think about signing certain goalkeepers, you can get hold of him. I think if you were to put in the right size bid. I think he's been very good since his time at Ajax. I've been aware of him. You said that he was very good against you, actually, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
he played brilliantly over 2 legs. Yeah, he's a fantastic
So
goalkeeper.
that's
So you're looking for a
First and
slightly more of a
foremost.
ball-playing goalkeeper under Pochettino,
Yes.
I'm guessing, something that he
yeah.
kind
I
of
think
specialises in.
but it's a
Onana.
prerequisite of a goalkeeper now, isn't it? I mean, we've had conversations on this show in the past about somebody like David De Gea. Very good goalkeeper is totally capable of the spectacular, but perhaps isn't conducive to playing the Ten Hag system because of what we want from goalkeepers these days.
Can I ask you what formation you're going to play as well under Pochettino?
I'm going to go
You're going to play
yeah.
wing back still?
Because he's classically played a 4, though. You look at his Tottenham team, I think
Four-
back to when it was with
4-2-3-1,
Tonga and
yeah.
Alderweireld, I think to his PSG
Well, that's what I was
teams,
asking,
about
yeah,
four.
because
The
of
thing
the
is, I
Chelsea
think
players.
The squad-
to accommodate our best defender, who is
Yeah.
Thiago Silva,
You have to play.
I think you have to play 3 at the back.
Okay.
So I think that Chelsea have, you know, with Fofana and Badiashile as well. I think that we have the suitability.
Got an abundance of centre
And-
backs.
And the other thing is, I'd say that Chelsea's 2 best players in terms of going forward and forward-thinking players are our wing backs. So I think that we need to accentuate the positive and get the best out of Reece James, Ben Chilwell. So I think the way that we do that is to go 3 centre halves.
You have got 3 very solid centre-backs there. Badiashile's been a fantastic signing in the January window, isn't he? And Wesley Fofana feels like, even though you're struggling now...
Oh, he's doing the
He's
whole
finding
team.
his own.
Wow.
No, I'll do the back line
Okay.
and we can kind of appreciate it in its full glory.
You've also got
and
Levi
beauty.
Colwill to come back, don't forget.
Yeah, I mean,
a
I'd love
really good loan at
yeah,
Brighton.
I would love the idea of Colwill being in and around the first team. This is my first team, but you know there will be obviously. I'd love Colwill to be interchanging with Badiashile, for example. And
Silva, Fofana, and then you've got the 2 obvious wing backs in Reece James.
I think that
and Ben
as
Chilwell.
as a back line, I think that is incredibly solid. I think
Yeah,
it's incredibly
really good.
solid.
Much better than Spurs.
It offers an awful lot going forward as well. Like Thiago Silva is just sensational, like truly sensational, a club great. And can you imagine the player that Badiashile and Fofana will be learning from Thiago Silva for a full
I
season?
want to just pick up on the fullbacks as well, because one thing Poch has really nailed throughout his coaching career is improvement in fullbacks. You look at Trippier, Walker,
Rose.
Danny Rose,
Danny
Ben
Rose.
Danny Rose,
Davis.
yeah.
Those 2.
Yeah, so to have the 2 who, in my opinion, are arguably the 2 best in the league anyway when they're on form. Like, I genuinely...
Reece James.
Reece James, Ben Chilwell's sensational. He's
Not the
sensational.
best in the league.
He's potentially one of the best. And also, when he's on form, those 2 are the reason that we've had some good results.
Injury problems with
But
both of them.
we won a European Cup because of these.
What I would say is you do notice the difference when Chelsea don't play with Ben Chilwell and Reece James. I think it's not just that you're taking individuals out, but the actual structure of your team. When there's different players playing those positions, it does
Do you know when
jump
I
off
realised?
the page.
I mean, I realised fairly early, but when I knew that it was officially over for Graham Potter is when we went to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and got beat
How'd you
this
get on?
season. Yeah, got battered. Got battered because of Potter. But we played. We had Ben Chilwell and Reece James in the team, and we played 4 at the back. You know, and you're just like, come on, like.
No
accentuate the
Cucurella, though.
positive. Are you joking? You did that on purpose. Don't do, I'm already feeling incredibly vulnerable on this show. Do not
He
do
paid
that.
£60 million.
This is what I'm saying. Like,
Cucurella-
Let Flav have one.
He was really good last year.
It's just the entitlement of Chelsea fans. Like, you see, he's a very, very good player.
No, he isn't.
Yes, he is.
No, he isn't.
Yes, he is.
Mark Cucurella is not a very good
Just
player.
because
He's
you-
an atrocious footballer. He has been terrible for us.
You know,
He's not a Premier League
He's not a
player
atrocious
that plays
footballer.
for Chelsea.
On the
He's not
scale
an
of
atrocious
range,
footballer,
he's
is
not
he?
atrocious compared to me.
He's
He's
not an
atrocious
atrocious
to good
footballer.
Premier League players.
No, he's an excellent
He's been
footballer.
Chelsea's
He
worst
just haven't
player.
made a
Man City wanted to sign Mark Cucurella in the
we
summer
would-
to
I would
start.
take
Look
him
at
to
Man
that.
City signed Calvin Phillips. It
You can't
doesn't
say
always
he's
work.
atrocious as a footballer.
It's nonsense.
I can say that. I stand by my
can't say
words.
people being taken seriously.
In comparison to Premier League footballers, he is appalling. He has been such
you
a
have
bad player
fouled
for us.
him. You have failed to make the best of what is a quality footballer.
Why is he not responsible for his own form?
Yeah, but
there's so much good.
Most
He was-
tackles for Chelsea in the Premier League this season.
He was
He's
great for
been
Brighton last
Chelsea's worst.
season, and we've seen Pochettino be able to improve fullbacks so
100%.
vastly that I'm convinced Cucurella will be a top level fullback.
Can I pick up on Flav's point about you're saying about the entitlement of Chelsea fans? Do you feel Chelsea fans are entitled with that? Because I think Flav's point was you're writing off a player that you spent that amount of money on.
They've had
I don't
20
think
years
we're
of
entitled.
20 years of getting everything they want. 25 years, and now they can just discard a £60 million player because he's the worst player at the club.
We're not entitled. We're just better than you.
You're
Let's
not. You
move
just
on to the
had
midfield.
more.
Let's move on to the
You've
midfield,
had
lads.
more money. That's
Who have
all
we
you've
got
had.
We were beating you since 1991.
No,
Two League Cups
we
since
talked about this
1991.
yesterday.
Way pre-Abramovich. Since
You had a
1991.
little period pre-Abramovich.
Pre-Abramovich, man, Mark Stein
The man
scoring
you
winners
are is
against Mark
because-
Stein scoring winners against you. Bernard
the man-
Lambourne
the
scoring
The
winners
man
against
you are is because of what Abramovich did with Chelsea.
No, we were beating you.
You would
Dennis
never
Wise,
be this arrogant.
Dennis Wise and Steve Clark beating you. Eddie
I remember
Eddie
that, but I
Newton
watched
scoring
it
winners
and
against you. It's nothing to do with Abramovich.
It's
I don't know
like
if he's
one
talking
game
about-
in 1990.
If we're down onto Eddie Newton, let's move on to the midfield. Right. Declan Rice and Enzo. Declan Rice, you want another midfield signing after 100 million on Enzo?
Yes.
You want to do another 100 million on
Just
Declan
after
Rice?
Flav was saying they're entitled, he's going to spend another 100 million.
We need him. We need him. Declan Rice, I think he is a truly brilliant player
Yeah, top player.
with such big potential. You know, I think that he could become one of the best. I think he's a future captain, and I mean, the world is his oyster in terms of like
future England
how high.
captain?
Yeah, I think he could be. I mean, England are in a real purple patch, aren't we? So there's a lot of options.
Why
available.
would he join you over Arsenal, though?
Yeah, I have no idea. I can't even make an argument. For that. Yeah, but, I mean, if I was his mate, I'd say don't. But I'm a Chelsea fan, and therefore I desperately wanted to. But also, I think that, look, if I'm going to really try, there is a link to Chelsea. He's best mates with Mason Mount. Chelsea are also an
Mason's leaving.
incredibly positive proposition, aren't they? Like, I know that it's been a bad season, but playing for Chelsea is still an iconic move for a footballer. It's still you're still.
If you have Pochettino, Rice might look at that and go, there's a project here that's going to last 4 years and Pochettino can make this work.
Is this you trying to convince yourself the players won't be going to Arsenal?
Well, what I was about to say is, Rice, do you really want to join a club that bottles it every year? I don't know if he will join that's got a failure.
Youngest squad in the
Who are you
league, the
talking
most
about bottles
upward
every year? Just
trajectory
to-
in the league.
Well, sorry, I'll make it absolutely
clarify.
clear. Last year, Arsenal capitulated for fourth place. This year, they
Oh, my
capitulated the
word.
title. Declan Rice, am I going to a project like Chelsea or a club that just can't win?
Arsenal's the best project in the league. Let's have it absolutely right. They're the youngest squad in the league, with the best upward trajectory, trending to get 90 points potentially this season, and there was no reason they'd step back.
And how many did they get?
History has taught us
Is
that
Man
it's
City
probably
not a better project? They're going to win the treble?
No, because Man City aren't a project, are they? They're the most established, best team in the world.
Yeah, but
Look,
for
I
a
can
player,
just-
just about a player that could theoretically have the pick of a club, I think Man City would
Also-
be
Also,
the
Arsenal
dream.
haven't won the
But they're
league for
gonna
2
get-
decades.
Yeah, but that doesn't
two
mean to say that
decades, I think
Declan Rice
Arsenal's
shouldn't go there. I think if you were a young player looking at all the Man City respective,
long term,
looking
sorry.
at long
Right,
term,
okay.
I think Arsenal's easily the best project in the league right now. If you were joining and picking a team,
Arsenal got to be looking at them getting picked apart. I think.
let's move to the front line. But I also do want to touch on Mason Mount, who there's a lot of chat potentially might leave the club. Rory, so what are your thoughts on Mason Mount potentially leaving the club?
I mean, that would be a heartbreaker, and it needs to not happen. What Chelsea need to do is do everything to make sure that Mason Mount stays at Chelsea. He's a heartbeat of the club. He is a fantastic player. Every manager who's had the opportunity to play Mason Mount loves him. And I think just being nurtured, being loved, being given a very specific role. He's been very unfortunate at Chelsea because he's so much better than so many other players. He's played in many different positions. If you just allow him to focus on one position, which I think his best position is effectively a box-to-box midfielder, I think he will shine.
I'll tell you who would make that happen. Pochettino, but you don't want him. If you bring in someone like Luis Enrique,
Luis Enrique would do that.
There's no guarantee that he's going to use Mason Mount. You think Pochettino?
There's no guarantees.
There is no guarantees, but Pochettino, he's a much better fit for Mason Mount than Enrique.
Well, then there's a...
I don't know why I'm trying to
Am I
convince
seeing
you
Victor
to have Pochettino.
Am I
gone
seeing
for
Victor Osimhen, £150 million Victor Osimhen,
much is
alongside
he?
£100 million Declan Rice?
You can't say about the money as if the money is going to put Chelsea. Like, the money isn't the issue.
Yeah, but at some point there's going to be a compliance issue with Chelsea. They've speculated that there's a £90 million player here who's not even on. He's on the bench.
No,
Where's
Mudryk will be interchanging here.
So why is Mudryk not here for you, just out of interest?
Because everything. Look, It's very early to say anything too definitive about a player like Mykhailo Mudryk. But from what I've seen so far, I haven't been particularly impressed. Like, it's not that I'm not writing him off. You know, this time next year, I think we can have a proper conversation.
Herein lies the issue, Rory, right, is that you speculated £90 million across 8 years on a player that might not be able to cut it in the Premier League. And you've done that multiple times. So to then go, well, we're going to do it again with Rice and Osimhen. These are guaranteed. You can't get wrong with those two players. They will be a success. But you're spending so much money, even if it is spread, spread or truncated payments over 8 years. It's still a huge amount of money. You can't keep doing this.
There's a lot of players that I think will leave as well, though.
Yeah,
in terms of bringing money in, I think there is a bit of a revolving door going on.
But you are right.
You've got Victor Osimhen there. What are you going to do with Romelu Lukaku? Well, £100 million striker that's currently scoring goals.
No Sterling either.
What I think would have... There's a lot of... This would be like the first team for a European Cup final that we won't be in. But this would be like the first team. Obviously, Sterling will feature. Obviously, I like the idea of Colwill featuring. Obviously, there will be opportunities for N'Golo Kante to feature.
For the 35 other players in the squad.
Yes, but I do think a lot need to leave.
How are you going to keep them all happy?
No, a lot need to leave. A lot do need to leave. But you're right about Mudryk. Like, do you know what really amplifies the way I feel about Mykhailo Mudryk not working? Whenever I see Leandro Trossard playing for Arsenal, you just think he just looks so good. He just looks so complete. And when he's not playing, Arsenal actually look far weaker.
Spent four or 5 years. I don't know how long he's been in the Premier League, but it's years.
Yeah.
So he's a couple of months into his career.
Of course, I'm not writing Mudryk off.
It's
not
the
by any
price tag
stretch.
that's the issue, not him as a player.
But overall, I think this is a team, and somebody like Osimhen would just be the dream, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
it would be. Or Pochettino brings Kane. Suddenly Pochettino's
Well,
just
one last thing. There is confirmation of Rory's ultimate 11. If Pochettino was to get the job, that is who he thinks would get Chelsea back competing. Let us know what you think. Obviously, money, no objective for Rory at any point.
Or for Chelsea.
Yeah, or for Chelsea. So let us know what you think.